So welcome to my kitchen. This is Cooking Today. Hi, welcome to Cooking Today. I'm so glad that you're here. I wish you were here with me because I'm making a pizza that is so good you will not believe it. So good. Let me tell you kind of how I figured out this yummy pizza. We cooked for about, it was supposed to have been 40 college students, okay? And then if we think, it turned out to end up being closer to 60, which is crazy, y'all. My daughter is a camp counselor at New Life Ranch this summer, and all those kids that are over there, you know, they get a little break on the weekends. And so they, you know, a lot of them are so far away from home, they don't have anywhere to go, and you know, they kind of like to be with a family, and so we just said, y'all come on Saturday night. Gracie kind of put the call out to kind of all the people on the staff. Well, let me tell you, it was a lot of people. And so we did a pulled pork. Hang on, I'm going to stir this. It is loud. Okay. So Sam did a pulled pork, like a yummy pulled pork that he smoked, 2 big pork butts that he smoked downstairs on the green egg. And then I made all the recipes that I've made on this show before. I made Granny Nelson's mac and cheese, you know, that good gooey mac and cheese recipe that I've made on here. I did the spicy kind of brown sugary baked beans that I have also done on this show. I made a 2 huge vats of good slaw. And I made a big triple batch, as a matter of fact, of banana pudding, which is kind of like those banana pudding cream pies that I made, except I just didn't do a crust. I, you know, just kind of mixed all the filling and put them in big vats so that we could just spoon it out and eat them. And it was the most fun ever. I mean, just so much fun. Those kids were sweet and grateful, and it was hot, but the only place we really had to kind of host them all was outside, and they didn't mind a bit, and every single one of them said thank you so much. And you know, when the night was over, gosh, it was probably 10:30 or 11 by the time everybody left, and I told Sam, you know, we were kind of beat, happy, but we were beat. And I said, I don't want to go downstairs, and I don't want to go in the backyard because I bet there is so much trash. You know, paper cups and water bottles and paper plates and, you know, just whatever. And I went down there and there was not a single bit of trash. There was not a cup that was not put in the trash can. There's not a chair that wasn't scooted in. I mean, quality, good college students. We were so pleased to have them. But we overdid it on the meat. You know, you can kind of only buy those big old pork, you know, big pork butts in certain sizes, and I don't really even quite know. Sam got 2 gigantic ones. But we had some left, and it is the best meat that Sam makes. So here's what we had left. Little batch of pulled pork, and so I thought, well, it's so good. I want to, you know, make something with our leftovers. You could also use this recipe with the pulled pork that I've made before, the braised one that we did in the Dutch oven, and we seared it and we put it in the oven. This one was done on the smoker. So I was trying to think of a way, you know, this week just to kind of use some of the pulled pork that was left over, because we don't have just tons, we just have some. And so I thought, what about a good, yummy, like a pork carnitas pizza? It's easy, it's kind of an easy weeknight meal, and who doesn't love pizza? We do. So we're gonna use about 2 cups, maybe 1.5 cups of this pulled pork and load it down on this gorgeous pizza that has so much flavor. I've started with bacon. I just took whatever I had in my fridge, probably 4, 5, 6 pieces, cut it down into little bites. I just feel like it's so easy to saute it that way rather than cooking it in big long strips and then crumbling it. I like, if I know I'm going to end up with it crumbled anyway, I cut it first and then just saute the bits. So I've got this going on my little saute pan over here. And when I want it to be a little bit extra nice and brown and crispy like I do on my pizza, I add a little swirl of olive oil to that pan just to kind of give it a little bit of extra heat, a little bit of extra fry in there. So we're gonna let that cook. And then when they're done, we're gonna strain those out and let those pieces, dry out and kind of drain on a paper towel lined tray, which is kind of how we do things around here. I've got them everywhere. They function. They're great. They're at Unimaze. Y'all would need to load up. Then I've got 2 medium yellow onions that I just cut the ends right off and made into these nice little kind of thin slices, like these little rainbows. And so when our bacon comes out, we are going to cook these down, get some color on them in that reserved bacon grease. Flavor, 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 flavor. Any way you look at it. I was gonna say any way you slice it because it's pizza. Any way you slice it, this pizza is gonna be great. So when we come back, we're gonna keep going on our prep. We're gonna have to get it all ready so that when it's time to build our pizza, we've got everything ready to go. This is Cooking Today.
Cooking Today, sponsored by West Rock Coffee Company.
Hi, welcome back. We are making pork carnitas pizzas today that are beautiful with tons of flavor. Flavor from the very bottom to the very top, and it is just delicious. And we're using leftover smoked pulled pork from a cookout that we had. So if you are going to a cookout and somebody says, oh, we've got leftovers, who wants some? Don't be the person that says, not me. Say, I want some, about 1.5 cups, because you're gonna wanna go home and make this pizza. Let me tell you where we are. Okay, we have crisped our bacon, okay? I've sliced really nice and thin a couple of yellow onions, and then I poured out a little tiny bit of the bacon grease. We don't want every bit of it because really there was quite a bit. So I went ahead and left just a little bit in the same saucepan, and we're gonna go ahead and cook down those onions for a little bit. Flavor, flavor, flavor. Then I have our leftover pulled pork. And I just have this little saucepan that I'm gonna scoop some of this meat out because it's cold. We've had it refrigerated. And if you have pulled pork that you either brought home from dinner out somewhere or from a cookout or something like that, you can leave pulled pork refrigerated for about 4 or 5 days. But anything after that, you really don't, it goes bad. You can easily freeze leftover pulled pork. A lot of times we will even kind of, measure it out in like little 2-cup portions or so, roughly. And then we'll just put them in freezer bags and freeze them in little batches so that we can put them on sandwiches, or we can, I make a really good little grilled cheese with some pulled pork, or we can do these pizzas. So freezing it, you're gonna get a lot more life out of it than the refrigerator, but in this case, we knew we were gonna be making pizzas with them, so we just kept it in the fridge for a little while. So I'm just eyeballing, I don't know, about 2 cups or so. And I'm gonna splash this with just the littlest bit of water to give it just a little bit of moisture in this pan. And then on super low, there, just enough. I'm just gonna cover it and just let it warm on low. Partly, it's already cooked and we're gonna, bake it in the oven on top of this pizza, but the fat in the meat makes it really firm. We just kind of want to loosen it up a little bit. It'll kind of just soften that a little. So we're going to let that sit right there. Let me stir my onions. Whoop. Okay, we're just going to let those keep going until they get nice and tender. A little bit of color. You can always throw in a little pat of butter in there if you like. I always love a little butter. Okay, so let's see what else we've got going. I love these jarred roasted red peppers. I've used them on here quite a bit. I really, really love them. They are pickly a little bit. They're a little sweet. I just think they're such a nice little flavor. I love the texture. as well. And you know, you've kind of got, this is kind of a good rule of thumb if you're cooking or hosting or fixing a meal. You know, when you have something that's really rich, like the pork and the bacon, you know, that's got quite a bit of fat, it really helps to have something that's a little bit cold or pickled or tart or vinegary beside it. It just kind of helps cut the richness and the fat, you know, in like your other, you know, ingredients or in your main dish. So when you think about all of the times that you've eaten a good slaw, or, you know, you've eaten some good pickle vegetable or something like that, you realize that most of the time, especially at restaurants, people are serving it beside a good, you know, ribs or pork or something that's just especially rich. So that's kind of the secret. And that's what role these little peppers are gonna play. And then not to mention, they're beautiful. Aren't they pretty, this color? And these are just in jars in your grocery store. And they're generally beside, kind of by the pickles, you know where your pickles and relishes and things are? So just look for them. They are roasted red peppers. And I've used these in a chicken pasta before. I've used them in all kinds of things. They're delicious, just cold like this on top of a salad, or like a little nice cold garnish. They are good. And you can also buy them already sliced if you would like, but I really like to just kind of give it my own little bit of elbow grease. Now, what's important, this is really important about this pizza. The ingredients really need to be as dry as possible. Like, these have a lot of liquid on them, these little red peppers. So I'm laying them, after I've chopped them, I'm laying them out and spreading them into a thin layer on a paper towel lined tray. We want the moisture and the liquid out. We don't want that getting all baked and soupy on the top of our pizza. And that's gonna naturally happen anyway. But we're gonna do our part on the front end to get some of the moisture out. We're gonna do the same with our mozzarella. We're gonna lay it out and make sure that there's, you know, we've gotten a lot of the moisture out of it as well. Okay, I'm gonna stir our onions. We're gonna let this moisture come out. We're gonna check on our pork, and when we come back, we're gonna build these beautiful pizzas. This is Cooking Today.
Iced tea, sponsored by Lipton.
Experience the local sounds, sights, and taste of the Fayetteville Farmers Market.
Do you know the producer behind your food?
What about how far away your food was grown?
Local to us means your food is harvested hours before traveling less than 60 miles to our market.
Enjoy music, chef demos, and special events while you shop for locally grown produce, meats, cheeses, flowers, artisan crafts, fine art, and more.
Visit us Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday on the square.
The Fayetteville Farmers Market, 100% local and loved.
Hi, welcome back. We're making pork carnitas pizzas. All these beautiful toppings are all prepped and ready to go so that we can crisp our crust and then build our pizza and get it in the broiler. And that's exactly what we're gonna do. Let me give you a little refresher. We have roasted red peppers that we got in a jar that I chopped, and I have them straining, just the juice kind of drying out a little bit on a paper towel lined tray. And I even put a paper towel on top of those and gave them a little press just to kind of pull even a little bit more moisture out. We have bacon, of course, a little crisped pieces. I actually have some mozzarella pearls. These are the ones that come like in a little ball, but they look like marshmallows, don't they? That's another day. We'll do a sweet pizza sometime. But we have those laid out. They have moisture, so we're trying to pull away some moisture on those. We have caramelized our onions. They got beautiful while you were away, and so I've got those right here in my skillet. I have shredded my own fresh mozzarella in the block so that I have a couple of cups of that right here. That'll go on first, and then we'll do the mozzarella little pearls on top. It's just beautiful and good. Then I have my pulled pork. Actually, let me check on that. I have my pulled pork that was left over from our cookout. Look at all my toppings. Where am I gonna go? that I went ahead and let it just, get nice and warm and pliable so we can kind of pull it apart and put it on our pizza. I've got so much stuff going on, y'all, I'm out of room. And then finally, for a little pretty fresh bite that we put right on the top after our pizza comes out of the oven is a little purple onion and basil. Isn't that so fun? This is just such a pretty pizza. I cannot wait for you to make it, to taste all of these good bites. Every bite is something delicious, and it is just eye candy. It is such a pretty, pretty pizza. So I'm gonna just do a little bit of this red onion, just a little bit, and then we'll put this aside for another time. So what I've got preheated on the stove is my big double-handled like cast iron skillet. I sell them at Unimaze. You've seen me use them on here like crazy. They are 13 inches around. They are so nice and big. And just the surface area alone, it just has so much versatility, and I'm just crazy about it. And it goes in the oven, which is key right here. I have 2 thin crust store-bought pizza doughs. If they're already cooked, kind of crackery, and I want to crisp the bottom of it and then load the top down. And so all I'm gonna do is take my pizza crust. I've got my big skillet preheated over about medium to medium low. We do not want it to be really, really high because then it will actually burn it like crazy. And so I've got it on medium low. I've swirled it with just a little bit of olive oil. And this dough round fits right in there. Because when you go to a pizza place, what you love is that good crispy bottom on your crust. And so this is how we're gonna do that in this skillet. Get this good crispy crust on the bottom. Then what we're gonna do is load that down with our ingredients. Not really any rhyme or reason on how we put it on, but just load it and then stick it in our broiler. We're cooking the bottom right now on the stove. Isn't that fun? Get that good crispy on there. And because it just kind of curls up, I'm pressing down. You can hear it. It almost feels like we're making a quesadilla, doesn't it? And that little tiny bit of oil just browns that dough so beautifully. So I'm just giving it a couple of minutes in here. And then what we're gonna do is move that over here and start to load it. At this point, if you do not have this skillet, you could skip this step and not crisp the bottom at all, and then just put it on a pizza pan and load it up and stick it in the broiler if you would like. What's really fun about this pan is that this whole thing, we're gonna build it in here, we crisp it in here, we're gonna build it in here, and then we're gonna cook it in this. It is just a really great pan to have. Okay, let's start. Let's start with our cheese. Now what's a little bit unique about this pizza, there is no sauce on it. We're not doing a red sauce, we're not doing a white sauce. We're just putting pizza toppings on it. And the reason we needed to do our shredded cheese first is because it's gonna serve as the glue when it melts to kind of, hold everything on. And then we're gonna layer it with the caramelized onions, the red peppers, the mozzarella, the pulled pork, and the bacon. Broil this for just a few minutes under your low broiler. Keep your eye on it. And then when it comes out, we're gonna top it with our fresh purple onion and our fresh basil chiffonade. It is gonna be a beauty. I cannot wait for you to see. This is Cooking Today. Hi, welcome back. You should smell it in here. This pork Carnitas pizza is just finishing up in the broiler. I layered it up, starting with the several cups of that shredded mozzarella cheese. And then I added the red peppers and the caramelized onions and the pork and then those little pearls of mozzarella. Look how fun those are, how they've just kind of melted in certain spots. And then bacon, of course. I mean, y'all look. And what kind of makes this carnitas is how when you put the pork underneath the broiler, those little bits that kind of poke up get nice and crispy. Oh, y'all, it smells so good. So I have my red onion that I've just chopped down really nice and fine that go all over the top. Is this gorgeous or is this gorgeous? And again, if you don't have this pan, you can just put that right on a pizza dish or pizza pan. And then I have some chiffonade basil. And if you don't have basil, you can use cilantro, whatever you like. Ugh, look! And you know what else I love to do just at the very, very end? I'm just gonna grab it in a minute. Red pepper flakes. You know how I love a little heat right on the top. Beautiful. Pork carnitas pizza. Store-bought ingredients, really just a little bit of elbow work. And you've got a beautiful, flavorful dish. Hope you'll try it at home. This is Cooking Today.
Cooking Today, sponsored by West Rock Coffee Company. Kitchenware is provided by Una Mays. Groceries provided by Harps, Hometown Fresh. Online Elements sponsored by Fayetteville Farmers Market.